Well, hello, everybody. It is your favorite day of the week. It is time for another episode of the Reality Reading Rainbow, where I talk about books written by reality stars and try to make sense of them. I am your host, Les Kirkendall Barrett, and full disclosure, we had already recorded the opening, and I looked up and realized that the recording was still paused. So this is take two. And with that being said, I would like to introduce our new permanent co-host to the show, Victoria Wood. Welcome.
Yay! I'm super excited to be here. Hi, everyone. My name is Victoria Wood. I'm the creator of the Bibliostyle newsletter, and I'm super excited to be the new co-host so I can talk books all day long with Les. I'm so excited. Yay!
And it was funny because, and what I said last time, which I will say again, is when we were recording the podcast last week, I realized, oh my God, this is what I need. I need someone to discuss these books with, because a lot of times what I do is I'll read the book and then I'll do the podcast and just start, and just give my opinion about the book. Sometimes I'll have guests, I've been doing a lot of interviews lately, but I do think that this would be a better, more well-rounded podcast having someone to discuss the book with. And you know what? I guess sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we won't, but I think it's gonna like round out the podcast in a good way. So welcome.
Yay, I'm really excited. And you know what, Les, it's like watching Bravo. You want someone to talk to about the episode. So then, there was Clubhouse, but then reading the books, I'm just so thrilled that, you're here, you have this podcast, and now I have someone to talk to about the book. So I'm super excited to be here. I can't wait for all the discussions to come, but yeah, I'm thrilled.
Now, before we start, we actually got some bad news, and not personal bad news. So don't worry about that. But actually, it is kind of a little. It
is kind of personal here. I had plans
because we just got the news that BravoCon has been canceled, and so BravoCon, and this was actually because it was canceled last year, right?
It was canceled last year because of COVID, but we were all looking forward to it. I think it was October 15th, thereabout.
Yeah.
But now it's canceled again because of COVID.
Right. Or let's get specific about it, because of people not fucking getting vaccinated and wearing their fucking masks. That's why it got canceled.
Exactly. I mean, it was just super hard to hear that Bravo talent, they're not getting vaccinated. They're not willing to get vaccinated. Folks are not willing to wear masks, follow the guidelines so we could have this event. I mean, we missed last year. I was looking forward to this year. I had a hotel planned. I was ready to go, but here we are. No BravoCon.
Yeah. And full disclosure, without mentioning names, that was one of the issues that some of the there were several issues, but one of them was that there were housewives that did not want to get vaccinated.
And that's a problem because, hey, it's like real world problems and Bravo life problems are colliding, because we are facing a problem right now where folks aren't getting vaccinated. So then to kind of hear that, the Bravo talent that we read about, we watch, some of them we love, some of them we don't, but they're not getting vaccinated. So now we won't have this event. And it's super heartbreaking. I was looking forward to getting together with our Clubhouse Bravo fam, meeting the talent, just showing up and having a good time. I do hope, though, that maybe we'll have some virtual events somewhere, just, something to kind of keep the fans going, because we didn't have an event last year. We're not having one this year. So, hopefully they'll do something.
And I'm kind of torn because, yeah, of course, I would be happy if we had something virtually. but it's just not the same.
No, I know. But we need an event is how I feel.
No,
we need something to bring the fandom kind of together and say, hey, this didn't happen, but, stay tuned because next year it's going to be great. Now I'm feeling super, super, super jealous for the folks who were able to attend the Potomac event because they had something in, real life. And here I was waiting for BravoCon, but it's not happening.
And yeah, it was so I'm an actor. And so y'all know how that goes. Sometimes you work, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it pays very well, sometimes it doesn't. Well, I'm fortunate enough this summer that I have an acting job. And it's, for those of you in California, it's Clue Live at the Westfield Century City Mall. We just got extended, so you can come until September. So Google Clue Live, and that'll give you all the info. But I didn't mean for this to be a plug. But my point with this was, I actually am working this summer, and it's a decent paying job. So I had just decided that, oh my gosh, I have some money saved. I'm going to use some of that, and I'm going to go to BravoCon. And I actually have friends who live in New York. So I actually had a place lined up to stay. And, I was looking forward to it. And so, now, and then for me too, because I lived in New York before I lived in California.
Right.
I love New York. And whenever I go to New York, I have the best time. And I haven't been in a few years. So I was like, wow, this is going to be cool too, because I get to actually go back to New York and, enjoy the city. So yeah, I'm bummed too.
I'm bummed, but hey ho, hopefully 2022 will be a great year. That's the only thing I can hope for. But the way things are tracking right now, I'm not even that optimistic. So
yeah, well, okay, and not to be a downer, but I have quite a few friends now who are reporting on social media that after being vaccinated, they are getting it anyway with the Delta variant. And they're like, it's not as bad. It's like a bad cold. Well, actually, no, I take that back. A few of them were like, it's not as bad. It's like a bad cold. But yesterday, one of my friends posted that he was vaccinated months ago and he has it, and it is bad.
Wow. I think the fall, the winter, it's going to be different. It's not going to be, what we were hoping. It's not. And I just hope folks, listening to this podcast, I hope you're taking it seriously because, we need to. We need to.
And think of it this way. If not for yourself, think about your friends who may want to get back out and enjoy life.
I know. I mean, you know what? I'm thinking about businesses. I'm thinking about friends, families, just everyone. We want to live our lives. And the only way we can live our lives is, again, if everyone's just willing to play their part. This isn't, oh, if you do it, you're fine, leave me alone. No, we're in it together. We need to get it together.
Right.
And it's also part of the reason why BravoCon is not happening and just all these events. So if you're listening and you had an event planned, for the end of the year, you might have to change your plans again, because we are in that phase where things are being cancelled. People are rolling back on whatever they had going on. So it might be lonely, but the good news is we have Bravo, we have books,
right?
We have a podcast.
and let's talk about our book. So we have been talking about Eboni's book, Pretty Powerful, and we started it last week. This week, I believe we're going to talk about chapters 4 to 6, correct?
Yes, we are.
And Victoria's reading it. I'm listening to it on Audible. But I gotta say, what I'm finding interesting about this is, for those of you who don't know, Eboni recorded this years ago before she wasn't even thinking about being a housewife. And it's funny to see how so much stuff tracks, actually.
Everything tracks for me, Les. Everything. Again, just a refresher. This book was written in 2017. It blows my mind. This woman was not thinking about housewives at this moment. She was just living her life, you know, speaking her truth. In all honesty, giving me a whole bunch of advice because I have tabs going here. It's insane. The woman I'm seeing on the show, the woman I'm reading about now, 2017, 2021, you know, 4 years. It's the same person. It's scary almost. I have goosebumps. I'm serious. It's wild because I would always notice differences between the housewives, how they are on TV, how they portray themselves when they're not filming, what they're writing in their books. You know, sometimes there are similarities, but this one tracks to a T. And there's so much valuable information in here. I can't wait to get talking because there's just so many things here I'm applying to my real life. It's amazing.
And first of all, the one major thing that I'm getting from this book, and we talked about it last week, is how people are saying, Eboni, she's too preachy, she's too this, she's too that, da, 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 da. And from what I'm learning on this book, the way that she's acting on the show, that's who she is.
100%. This is Eboni. This is her authentic self.
Yeah.
She's not putting on for the show. I mean, she's definitely not putting on in this book here. And everything tracks 100%. This is, you know, you want her to be herself. You want housewives to be themselves, live their truths, just, you know, live their life. This is her.
Yeah. Yeah. So hey, so get us started, Victoria. Let's get into this.
Right. So we are discussing chapter 4, and this section, very interesting, is entitled Pretty Politics. And she has some insights from a woman named Monica Crowley. Now, full disclosure, I had no idea who this woman was before. So, of course, I Googled her, and she's quite impressive herself. And the book opens with a story again, about this woman, just kind of saying who she is, the fact that they were debate partners on a Fox News Channel show called The O'Reilly Factor. She's on, well, she's on TV. She was on TV every day. You know, she was analyzing politics, going full on, you know, discussing her. And that's what I discovered when I Googled this woman. But what I found super interesting was just her life before camera. And the book goes straight into it. It's like the third paragraph, that her first job out of college was working for former President Nixon.
Right.
How she met Nixon, how she got this job blew my mind. Okay, so you guys are not going to believe this. But going into Crowley's senior year at college, she read one of Nixon's foreign policy books, right? And the book moved her. It educated her. She felt great about it. She's like, oh my God, you know, this is so insightful. And she decides to write him a letter. So when she says that she felt compelled to write the letter, not even thinking, oh, this is a former president of the United States. It's just like, you know, the way how we feel when we read a book and it moves us, you just feel so compelled. You want to meet the author. You want to go to a bookstore. You want to, you know, see them at a reading, at a signing. Mm-hmm. This is how she felt about Nixon. She never thought about the fact that he was president. She's just like, I have to write him a letter saying, this is how your book made me feel. And she wrote this letter. It was a handwritten note, by the way. And she forgot about it. You know, minding her own business, going on. She's in college too. So, you know, that gives you some perspective. But a month later, she went to her mailbox and there was a letter written by Nixon himself, handwritten. I'm very particular about handwritten notes. And he invited her to come in, have a conversation. And that conversation led to a full-time job. I mean, where does this happen?
A career.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't it mind-blowing? You read a book, you loved it. Again, just forget that, you know, just forget about it, that, you know, he was the president. Just put that aside, you know, put his politics aside. But just the fact that she read this book, it moved her. She wrote a letter. This man responded, actually responded, which is mind-blowing. And this led to a meeting, which led to a job, which also led to the start of, in my opinion, a stellar career.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it was just it. I couldn't believe it. You know, you can't make this stuff up. You know, I've often said that sometimes fact is more interesting than fiction. And in this case, it was true. But of course, you know, kind of going into Eboni's whole book about being pretty powerful, you know, this woman's first thought is, well, okay, I'm going to go meet the former president. I think it hit her now. This isn't just a guy writing a book. And the first thing that comes to mind is, what does a 21 or 22-year-old young woman wear when she's going to meet a former president? I mean, my brain would be turning. I'd be going through my closet. I'd probably drive down to the mall somewhere to get an outfit because, yeah, what do you wear? I mean, what would you wear, Les?
Well, and it's funny because when Eboni described, basically, I would wear something conservative because, you know, you're meeting with an ex-president. From what I gathered, it was going to be a serious sort of a meeting. And I forget, did she meet him in the office or was it for lunch? Because I think I dress a little different if it was going to be like sort of a formal lunch than a meeting in his office.
Yeah, I think because you know how presidents have their offices set up after they leave office and their library. That's where she was meeting him. Honestly,
so if I was meeting him in his office, I would wear a suit.
Well, Crowley consulted with her mom, and the consensus was to wear a dark navy blue suit, right? Because that was very typical. It was very conservative. And I found it so funny. She said, I wasn't going to meet him dressing like Madonna or Beyonce,
right?
Which is, you know, kind of the opposite side of the divide, which is super glamorous and so on. So again, the whole idea of Eboni's book is pretty powerful. It's all about your appearance. So even at this point, you know, appearance was very important to this woman. She also goes on to say that she got a job, by the way. So she got the job with Nixon. Now she's going between Nixon's office, going to the White House, sometimes ferrying messages, handwritten notes, and so on. So she went to Ann Taylor and bought more outfits, you know, so that, you know, she'd be ready. So it says a new pair of navy blue, black pumps, you know, navy blue button-down shirts, suits. You know, she bought some really great outfits. What I also found interesting was the fact that she was saying it was very important, even if you couldn't afford to buy, you know, these super tailored, beautiful outfits and suits. She highly recommends, even if you're going to go to the Marshalls, the TJ Maxx's, you know, stores that us regular people can relate to. And it was very nice to hear that she bought dresses at Marshalls, because I do too. But then take them to a tailor and have it fitted to suit you. That will give you a more effortless look without having to spend thousands of dollars. So I found that very interesting.
And you know what? I did too. And that was like one of those things that I was like, whoa, even as a guy, I never even thought about that before, because she said that not only is fit everything, even if it is a dress from Marshalls, the right fit makes it look more expensive.
Yes, she said 2 Fs. It's all about fit and fabric. So when you go to Marshalls and, you know, you'll get the off-rack designer clothing, you know, for way cheap. So you'll see a dress for like $300. You get it for $35, $40. What she's saying is if it's the right fabric, you know, it's the right dress, even if it doesn't fit you to the T, buy that dress, get it altered, and that will just elevate your look some more. So now I'm going to approach my shopping at Marshalls and TJ Maxx a lot different. And again, see, this is what I'm saying. You know, folks keep saying, well, Eboni, you know, is preachy. She's always educating. Well, you know what? I got a whole education on this book about the importance of the way you dress, not to jump ahead. But in the next chapter, it really spoke to me. But what I loved was when Eboni decides to give us her own personal example and say, you know, when she decided to transition from practicing law to career in media, she made certain plans for herself. She decided, I'm going to reach out to all these people, whether it's through emails, telephone calls, tweets, whatever she had to do, cold calls, cold reaching out just to, kind of get ahead. So I realized this tenacity, just this demeanor we're seeing on TV. I mean, she's always been that way.
Yeah.
So I loved hearing that in addition to your appearance, your effort matters too.
And the thing is, it's like I'm Googling a tailor, right? Like just to see. Because that, honestly, for me, I had never even thought about that before. And, I'm just Googling it to see how expensive it is.
Well, here's a trick to tailors, because I've been to a few. If you go shopping and you bring, say, 3-4 dresses to get that tailored, you get more value for your money than just, say, bringing one dress, getting that altered. I mean, that's possible too. But I feel if you're getting a new job, get 3-4 outfits, maybe a week's worth, 5 bits, and then bring them to a tailor. So then it's easier for him to just get everything altered in one go. And instead of spending $1,000 per suit, you probably walk away spending $55.
So listen to these price points. Okay. So hemming pants, skirts, or dresses, anywhere from $10 to $25. Skirts with a lining cost more to hem.
Yes.
But still, it's not over $25. Shortening sleeves, $15 to $40. Jacket sleeves cost more than shirt sleeves. Yeah. All right. Adjusting a wristband, $15 to $25. Pants or skirts with linings cost more. Taking in a dress shirt, $15 to $30. Taking in a jacket or a vest, $20 to $50. Taking in a sheath dress, $30 to $50. Raising the waist of a dress will be around $60. Mm-hmm. Shortening a suit jacket, $30 to $40. Replacing a zipper, $20. And replacing the lining of a garment, $50 to $150. So it is actually very doable to take your stuff to a tailor.
I'm telling you, because I've bought dresses, for example, at Marshall's, because I love when she gave the Marshall's example. I spent anywhere between $30 to $60 on one dress. Now, the price tag on that dress prior to Marshall's, if you were going to buy this in, say, your Macy's or your Neiman Marcus or wherever, right, the dress is usually priced $200 upwards. So if you buy that dress, say median price, you spent $40 on that dress, and then you spend $20 to get it hemmed, or you take in the sides if it's a bit too big, maybe even replace the zipper for argument's sake. You are now getting this dress under $100, right? Because like I said, the more services you do at a tailor, I've had experiences with tailors, but it was years ago as a child, they'll get everything put together for you, as opposed to you bring it in now, you come back with something new and, something else for them to do. So long story short is you can get a $300 look for under $100. Wow. And it's fitted and it's tailored to you.
Wow.
So this advice about fit and fabric, I believe it. But not only does, Eboni, and by, using Crowley as an example, not only does she give us, physical appearance tips, she also gives us effort tips, because hearing that she's reached out to numerous folks to get opportunities, she's been told no, but she's just persistent and she keeps going on and on and on. I mean, that's a true testament to, her character and her drive.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And one of the things that I got out of her talking with the Monica Crowley chapter is I liked how basically dressing, it's more of a strategy.
Yes.
Did I say it right?
Strategy. Yeah.
Strategy.
Yes. And she also gives tips on taking the personal. Okay. dressing professionally is one thing, but dressing, in your personal life is another. And I just found the paragraph where she said, I think Eboni was asking her if she had a uniform, right? And if her choices around how she presented herself to the world in her personal life, her real life, how different they were. And she said, anyone who keeps the same uniform in professional and private life is making a big mistake and missing out on a lot of fun. In your personal or private life, you have more freedom to dress more expressively, and you're able to connect with who you are. However, everything should be done in moderation. And I love the fact that she mentions, that having some fun in your personal life while also staying authentic to yourself is important. However, here's the other part, social media. We live in a world now where everything is captured. So don't go too extreme, just find that moderate center where you're comfortable, because unfortunately, now we're in a society where employers are looking at your social media, seeing what, how you are in your personal life. So if you shared something online, just think of it, because she said, here it is. She points out that while she takes more liberties in her personal style, she doesn't get too crazy. This is a personal choice, but especially important in today's society where Instagram, Facebook, and she said Snapchat, because it was a thing in 2017, allow current and potential employers, clients, and the entire world to see so much more of our personal lives, and those moments are captured forever. So even though she's saying, you can take some liberties with your personal life and your personal style, don't get too crazy.
Right. Don't go nuts. And then once again, and we said this last week, it goes to show that everything that Eboni wears on the show is planned out.
She is thinking everything through, from colors to the shapes, the styles, the fit. Eboni is thinking everything through. And they ended the chapter, Eboni ended the chapter saying, again, everything's about authenticity, staying true to yourself, and remembering that, and this is the part I love. She's like, don't go for short-sighted gain, short-term gain. If I do this, I'll evoke this reaction, just take a long-term approach. And I see that on the show. Eboni's not reactionary. She doesn't react to anything in the moment. She doesn't make rash decisions. She is playing a long game. So when she ended that chapter with Crowley, it made me think, you know what? She's like, I don't think about my boss looking at me differently and giving me a promotion for the now. I'm thinking about myself, having self-respect. And at the end, that trumps everything. So she doesn't care. If I have to dress a certain way just to get attention now, I'm not going to do it. Because I'm thinking long-term, how is this going to look? And I get that from Eboni on the show. She's just not a right now person. She's thinking long-term.
Yeah. Now let's get into this next chapter, because this next chapter I found so interesting.
I think I have the most tabs in this chapter. It spoke to me personally. This chapter is chapter 5, and it's entitled Free Enterprise. And the individual she spoke to and interviewed for this chapter is Janice Bryant Howard. I think that's how you say it. And I love the quote at the start of the chapter, which is, everything matters. Give smart attention to everything, and you'll actually save time, money, and other resources. So my question, Les, did you know who Miss Janice Bryant Howard was?
I did not.
Well, I didn't know either, but the book told us within the first paragraph that she was the first African-American woman to own and operate $1 billion business. I mean, that line alone had me, who is this woman? I have to know who she is. I was Googling like mad.
What'd you find out?
Well, this woman wears a whole bunch of hats outside of what they told us in the book, but she really is super, super impressive. So just based on the book Eboni gave us all the info we needed anyway. But this woman's an entrepreneur. She's a businesswoman, author, educator, ambassador, and presidential special appointee for President Obama. She was also the founder and CEO of Act One Group, which is the largest certified woman minority-owned staffing agency in the United States. Again, within the first paragraph or two, my mind was blown. And this woman has a history.
Yeah.
That is just so deep. You know, her mother, her grandmother, you know, her great-grandmother, just hearing this woman's generational story was both inspirational and, in a weird way, I kind of see how Eboni, you know, parallels her life, you know, to this woman in terms of changing direction, starting a new career. And this woman started her business in 1978. So she's been around a while. This is just an overnight success, folks. But what I loved is the fact that she went to California by mistake. She went to visit family. She loved it. She's like, well, how can I stay here? And she got a job, and that job turned into an opportunity, which then propelled her to start her own business. And again, I still can't believe how she was able to do this, considering, you know, this is a woman coming from a small town in North Carolina. It was just very inspiring.
Yes. Oh, yeah. This whole chapter was inspiring.
Yep. And I mean, this is her backstory, you guys. She says her mom grew up in a 2-bedroom house with an outhouse serving as a bathroom. This is in North Carolina. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is in Louisiana. Sorry. She grew up in North Carolina. Her mom grew up in Louisiana. And she talks about her mom not being able to go to integrated schools until she went to high school because it was still very much segregated down there. She then goes on to tell us that after working, her mom was just so driven. She had this weird entrepreneurial spirit. And this is what her mom thought in 1979. She went to business class in her sophomore year of college. And her teacher said, if you do everything right, if you interview well, if you get good grades, you'll eventually earn up to $50,000 a year. $50,000 a year in 1979. I know there are a bunch of people right now who would love $50,000 a year, right? Just for a job. But in 1979, her mom thought that was not enough.
Yeah.
That vision, again, she grew up in a segregated small town, and just for her, that she's like, $50,000, no, that's not enough. So she instead leaves college and applies to Popeye's fried chicken, a fast food chain.
Right.
She was a manager, and she did that for some time. She saved some money. She honed in her managerial skills, and then she decided she wanted to open her own business. She was going to open a beauty salon. This woman didn't know how to do hair, nothing. So she sent herself to beauty school, works her way up, goes from beauty school to then saying, okay, now I want to own daycares. And she starts opening daycares. Then she's like, well, I want to own a tractor trailer company. So now I'm going to buy some tractor trailers cash.
Yes.
I mean, who does that? You know? But however, though, and, you know, I'm highlighting this woman, all her accolades and everything. But there was a section in the book, I'm turning the pages here, trying to find it, when she said she went through some financial struggles.
Oh, when she needed the $2,000?
Yes. I just found it. So she's running her beauty salon. She had one salon, she opened a second salon, she had a mini chain going on, she opened a third, and so on. But she faced some financial struggles, and she asked for a $2,000 loan from her mother. So that would be, what's her name again? That would be Janice Bryant's grandmother.
Yes.
Right. And her grandmother's response blew my mind. Again, this woman has, you know, a business going for her. You know, she's doing well. She was just in a pinch. She was in a bind. She needed some cash.
Which we all get into.
we all get into a bind. And you'd think like, your mom would be so proud of you, for having your own businesses. And she'd be just like, oh, you just need $2,000. No problem. I'll help you. Instead, she got a scolding.
I related so much to this. I got chills. Because her mom was basically like, who do you think you are? You should have gotten a regular job like everybody else. You're being too big for your britches. And, she gave her the money, but she gave her a lot of shit.
She gave her a proper scolding saying, who do you think you are? Get a real job, all these different things. But I think it's very important to put some context here. And her mom had never worked for a Black person before. Her mom only worked for white families. Rich white people, being a caregiver, being a housekeeper, being the help. That's what her mom was. So her inability to see or believe in a Black woman having a business, it's heart-wrenching. Uh-huh. But I understand. Does that make sense? It's like, yeah. I understood her fears, but I also understood that she'd never worked for a Black person before. She never had that pleasure. Let me put it that way. She never had that pleasure. And the first Black person she worked for was her daughter. Because when her daughter opened those childcare centers, she had 30 years experience caring for other people's kids. So now she was able to work for her daughter. And that was the first Black person she worked for, because she didn't grow up seeing Black people owning businesses. All she saw were Black people working for other white people, especially in these roles where they're servants to them. So the fact that her child had the audacity to open a business and be in a bind and needing money, no, she gave her a proper scolding, like, who do you think you are? But she had a bigger vision.
Right.
And that was kind of gut-wrenching for me to read, but it's very much a reality. And it's something folks are holding on to today as well.
Well, I got to tell you, okay, so I'm an actor. In real life, I'm an actor and I'm a working actor, right? But my mother never understood it, because as an actor, honestly, the last time I spent an entire year unemployed as an actor was in 1999. But I mostly made my career from doing theater and doing touring shows that I wrote. And so it wasn't your conventional, a lot of people basically think actor and think TV, movies, that's it. And there's a whole other, trajectory. And so I remember being in a bind. Mind you, I had been touring the world with not only shows, but shows that I wrote myself. And I was getting great notices from them. And my mom was like, well, if you would have gotten a degree in something else, then maybe you wouldn't have this problem. And, and she didn't understand that. Okay, so no, I'm not on TV or in a movie, but I am making a career doing this. And not a lot of people can say that, especially stuff that they created themselves. And so no, I totally got that.
I related to it too, just even in present day, because my day job, my credentials, I worked in healthcare. I worked in healthcare for many years. I worked in radiology, to be specific. But I always had a passion for books, for literature. I wanted to do English in school. I wanted to, do all these things. But I was told, no, you can't do that. You have to get a real job. You have to pursue something where you can earn a living and da. So I did that. I succumbed to the pressure. I did that. Mm-hmm. And, 5 years ago, I said to my mom, I want to pursue my passions now. I think it's time. I've I've waited. I've done everything I was supposed to do. Now's my time. And it was super hard. And 2 years ago, I went on a limb. I was like, okay, I'm going to start this book thing. I'm going to try and build a community around it. I'm going to work with publishers. I'm going to, do all these different things. And it was so hard for her to see it. I scaled back on my day job. I went part-time. Now I do freelance. I can't even say I do part-time anymore because I'm not even on a schedule. I do freelance work. And even though I'm seeing successes, even though I'm getting those publishing partnerships, even though I'm making these deals, she still can't see it.
Right.
Because she is from that generation where you have to work a day job. There's no time for you to dream. That you have to be real. You have, like they say, you have real bills to pay, little girl. Wake up. They come around, like clockwork all the time. And so when, this story here, I understood it 100%. I was like, wow. I also love the fact that in the book, we got real life examples, not just for someone who aspired to corporate, but we're getting stories from folks who are in creative spaces, who are building brands and companies and businesses and whatever it may be. So I really appreciated that contrast. What I also loved is the contrast we got with Eboni.
Yeah.
And her transition.
Yeah.
Because I remember in the early parts of Roni, right? Eboni kind of shared, a quick bit. She says, I know what it's like to have bad credit. I know what it's like wanting to buy a house and being told, oh, your credit's really bad. She also shared on screen with us, she had a car being repossessed,
Right.
She shared all these personal nuggets kind of to say, I know what it's like. I wasn't born with this. And I got a full picture in this book of that story, which we never really got on screen.
Yeah, she broke it down. She really broke it down for us.
She broke it down. She said she knew that there was going to be no comfort, and she never had support when she decided she wanted to kind of move away from law and launch a career in media. She did say, however, she had some comfort in knowing that she would still have her law degree. She would still have a law license. So worst case scenario, she could come back to that. But what I appreciated was her sharing that she went to LA. She performed hourly contract legal work to pay the bills. She went on any television or radio show that she could book, unpaid, in brackets, unpaid, in order to develop a reel. She waited tables. She did anything she could just to kind of get to that point. And for her, just, again, being invited on anyone's show was just a blessing in itself. But then guess what happened? Because she started doubling down and focusing on her TV and radio appearances, it was hard for her to actually work, maintain a job where she's getting a paycheck to cover her bills. Now, this is what I like. She said great things happened. She appeared daily on networks that included the NFL Network, CNN, HLN, TV One, Fox News, and Fox Business. She got hired as a contributor and she was making some money. However, she still had to supplement that money by being a contract lawyer, but it wasn't enough to get her out of the debt that she had incurred in the previous 3 years when she was just going crazy, going mad. Her cell phone was cut off.
Yes.
Her cell phone. See, in that moment, I was really humbled because I'm like, I've never had a cell phone cut off on me before. But this woman, she had her cell phone cut off due to non-payment. And she said it was a problem because obviously she relies on her phone for bookings. People are calling her, hey, Eboni, can you come on this show?
Right.
Right. She said, I would often have to stretch $25 a week for my entire food budget.
I've been there. I
just came from brunch on the weekend. I spent way more than $25. And she did that for a week. Gas, right, was now for special occasions. So she was commuting on public transport 2 hours each way to get to her legal contract job. She didn't have any money to pay for her car inspection or her registration, so she kept getting tickets. She was even towed once while she was in studio waiting on an appearance.
You right? Yep.
She was also 2 months behind on her rent. And during her last week in LA, she received a notice from her car lender saying that after 3 months without payment, they were finally repossessing her vehicle. I mean, how many things did this woman have to go through?
Right.
I couldn't believe it. No, I'm being serious, Les. This is a whole paragraph, you guys, a whole paragraph on all the bad things that happened.
And she got divorced, remember?
Yes, she was going through a divorce. I forgot that. Yeah, you're right. She was going through a divorce. This woman was waiting tables, performing hourly contract work to pay the bills, while simultaneously running around trying to get on any TV, radio, whatever show that would have her. And she was doing this unpaid. So maybe if you knew her from back in the day, which I didn't, the odds are you were seeing her on a show and she wasn't being paid for it.
Yeah. Happens more than you think.
Whew. I mean, Les, again, just like we were sharing, when you were doing your acting, your mom giving you that pushback, me doing my book thing. I did a lot of free work. I'm still doing a lot of free work, but I could relate to that. What kind of made me, take a step back is that I never had my phone cut off during that time. I wasn't worrying about my rent. I wasn't worrying about my car. I had some security. So the fact that this woman is going through the ringer, right, while putting on that ebony face,
right,
while dressing up and showing up, and she's 3 months behind on her rent, her car's being repossessed, her phone keeps getting cut off, she has a $25 food budget. I mean,
I have been there, and so I have in the past, many years ago now, I had the cell phone cut off. I was months behind on the rent. And then I went through a point of, so I was booking work, but I wasn't booking enough. I was booking paid work, but it didn't pay well enough to cover the bills. So I still had to have a day job, but then I had to get a crappier day job, like a telemarketing job, because they were more flexible than a regular 9-to-5 job. Because I was always honest of, hey, I'm a performer, I'm an actor, I do book work, I will be working from time to time, I will be missing work because of booking work. Because, let's face it, an acting gig, even though it wouldn't cover all the bills, I would make more in an acting gig in a day than I would in a month on my day job. But you would tell these jobs this, and I was always honest, and I always broke it down, and they'd always say, yeah, sure, fine. But then when you got the job and then you booked the work, then all of a sudden they had a problem.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I told you, I told you. And the worst, and I'm going to call it, I'm going to call a thing. The worst incident I ever had. And I'm going to call it out, and I'm going to call it the fucking name of the company, because fuck them. I worked for this fucking company called Theater Direct, right? Mm-hmm. And Theater Direct was a telemarketing place where, the major, the theaters in LA, they sold subscriptions. All right. This place was run by actors. All right. An actor and a writer. Okay. So their whole thing was come and work with us. And we're artists as well. So we understand what you're going through. We understand it. We'll be flexible. Okay. So I started. And one of the people I had known at a previous job, right? So they knew what was up. And so I just happened to have a good year. So the fact that I happened to have a good year, one of the owners of the place didn't like
it.
That I happened to have a good year. I showed up at work, I did my hours, I did my sales. I actually sold stuff and did my sales and met my quota. So what was, and the job didn't pay for shit, but I went in there and met my quota, right? And, I was barely eking out a living, but I was showing up and doing what I needed to do. So at the time, I was in a relationship at the time. And so my boyfriend at the time, who's a friend, we're still friends. My boyfriend at the time had a very wealthy friend, right? Who he's still friends with. And this friend was like, one day I looked down and my phone had like been blowing up, and I call my boyfriend and I'm like, wait, well, what's your deal?
What's going on? Yeah.
And he's like, okay, do you have a passport? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, my friend, I'm not going to say the guy's name. My friend is shopping for a private jet. And so he wants to try out this private jet. And so he wants to know if we want to come with him to the Cannes Film Festival. And he got a villa at the Hotel du Cap. It's going to be a long weekend. Would you want to go? And I'm like, fuck yeah. I'm like, hell yeah. Right? So I did what I needed to do as far as I did all my hours for that week. And it was another thing too. It was flexible in terms of you had a minimum of hours, but if you did your hour minimum, you could kind of, so let's say if you had something going on the weekend,
you can do it.
You could do it. If you did your minimum hours by Wednesday, Thursday, you could take Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever off. So I worked my ass off that week. I went in extra. I got my hours done. We left on a Wednesday. We were back on a Monday.
Right.
But the way that the hours were set up is, okay, so if you didn't work Monday, then you just came in on Tuesday. And as long as you got your hours in, it didn't matter. So I go to the Cannes Film Festival, have the time of my life, one of the it was like the number one trip in my life that I had ever taken. Canada, it was amazing. But when I got back, things changed and the attitude changed and things got a little frosty. And even though I made my sales and I made my quota, I ended up getting fired from that job. And when I got fired from that job, one of the last things she says is, oh, don't worry about it. You'll book something.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, I swear, people can be so petty and so messy. And you're right. Of all the companies, they should have, received you because they know what it's like to be a creative trying to hold down a job and booking spaces, but they're trash. It's clear. But it's just...
P.S. I'm now working full time as a creative and they're still at that.
Boom. There you go. So it's like, I can bet you can relate, and there's so many people out there who can relate in terms of, chasing a dream, but being behind on real life things. But here's like the silver lining for Eboni. And we're going to backtrack because she says a month before she received her car repo notice, she had taken her last $250 and opted to use it for a plane ticket to New York City instead of making her car payment. And in brackets, she's like, I know, but wait for it. Because a normal person would be like, you spent $250 on a plane ticket and you didn't pay for your car.
My thought was, Wait, you got a plane ticket from California to New York for $250? Where the hell are you getting your flights? I need to go there.
Priorities. But yeah, so she flew herself out to New York. She couch surfed at a college friend's home while she took meetings with every network she could in town. She needed something to break quick. Because again, remember, this woman's 3 behind on rent, 3 months behind on her car. She has no money for food, nothing. She needed something. So this trip to New York was make it or break it for her. She said weeks later, after she returned to LA with her repo notice in hand saying, okay, sorry, we got to take the car now. This is after her New York trip. After she spent her car payment on that plane ticket. She said, weeks later, I returned, my cell phone rang. And she puts in brackets, I smartly decided to pay my bill that month.
Right.
Right. And it was her manager telling her that CBS News made an offer to hire her full time as a network correspondent. They were launching a new 24/7 digital streaming property and felt that her radio and commentary experience that she has built over the past 3 years was going to be a good fit. They also cited that they were impressed with her on the Bill O'Reilly show and all these different things. CBS also offered to cover her moving expenses and everything because she was about to start this job in New York in 3 weeks. So for her, knee deep in debt, probably about to be evicted, all these different things, and that one phone call changed her life.
Right.
In that moment, she said, and this chapter kind of wraps up, she was saying, this is when she learned the lesson of gratitude. And that was the moment when she started just, exercising gratitude on a regular basis, on a daily basis. Because the truth is, this woman was at her lowest point. She was at the borderline of being homeless, really, and having to go back home and maybe move in with parents or move in with friends. So when we heard that on Roni, just casually, I've had bad credit. I've had a car repoed. I've had these little nuggets. We never really got the full picture. But when I read this here, I was like, she was referencing this moment that she shared in her book. And that for me was just like, wow, and the fact, I also love this fact, as a book lover. She was saying on her roughest days, she would be even more intentional about being grateful because even though she got this job, it was no walk in the park. She had all these challenges, and dynamics to deal with at her workspace. But this is what I loved was when she said on her roughest days, and she was trying to be very purposeful about being grateful, she would always try to find a way to share with others. And she said the network had a cart full of free books from the countless authors who pitched their works to the different networks. And on those challenging days, she'd take as many books as she could carry and donate them to the nursing home down the street from her apartment in Harlem. She said it was a kind of thing she had always done, but doing it on those toughest of days, it was something to not only serve the community, but it served her spirit inside. And for me, just a way that, she turns like her hard days and just those tough moments into something positive. That was super inspiring for me. Yeah. It was just super inspiring.
Yes.
And she ends the chapter again with saying that, from one entrepreneur's story, because again, we started the chapter with Janice Bryant Howrod, who was the first American woman to own and operate her billion-dollar business. The struggle she went through with moving to California, just by chance, happened to hire for her friend's husband, did some more hiring for some other people. And then you're good at this, start a business. And her family's history to entrepreneurship, to then Eboni's journey, even though folks might seem to have immediate success, she's letting us know that everything matters, from the substance to being prepared to the way we maintain our composure and preparing ourselves. This all has to do with this pretty power that she's talking about. So I just kind of liked how she wasn't afraid, because we associate, being repoed and being behind on the bills, in a negative light, but instead she chose to share that she wanted to pivot from her law career to media, and it wasn't easy for her,
And I like that she showed, because, there's people out there all the time that are bullshit and oh, yes, I just decided to do it. And it happened overnight. And it doesn't happen overnight. I'm glad that she was honest about it, because, I think, A, it makes her more relatable, but B, it shows those people, especially women, who have an interest in doing that, if you're attempting to do it and you're going through the crap right now, that's a part of it.
I agree, because we're on social media. Even, Instagram, Facebook, Clubhouse, wherever you are, you'll always see, these rooms or these ads or these posts about entrepreneurs and, we have this quick step guide. This is how you can be successful. Oh, I do this. I make 6 figures. I have a multiple 7-figure. No. So if you're someone out there and you're going through it, this woman is saying it's normal. So we're seeing her on Roni right now. And she shared early on, she was trying to get a mortgage. She's trying to buy a home. And then they were like, no, sis, your credit's in the shit. So she was actively working on, getting good credit, finding a good mortgage lender, all these different things. But it never just happened. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to buy a house tomorrow, and it happened. So these things that happened to her had lasting repercussions to now, she's at another level in her life, but she was reminded, oh, whoops, you remember that rent I didn't pay, that car that got repoed, I need to clean that up. So for me, Eboni, super relatable. She's being 100% real and honest about her experiences, and I appreciated that.
Yes. And so that is it for this week, but we're going to be back next week. I'm really enjoying this book.
I am.
And like I said last week, it was not what I was expecting. It really wasn't.
Again, in true Eboni fashion, we're getting her authentic self, but she's also leaving us with nuggets, that we can apply in our everyday life. Because I get that from her on the show. She's leaving little nuggets for the women on the Roni cast. They're just not receiving her well, but I'm receiving her in this book. And I'm just, again, it's not what I expected, but I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yes, I am too. So, Victoria, how would the readers find you?
Okay. Hey, everyone. You can find me by visiting my website, bibliolifestyle.com. You can sign up for my once weekly newsletter. I send a newsletter every Friday sharing the newest books out there. I also share some reading tips and some curated book lists just to kind of inspire you to pick up a book on the weekend and, decompress and just, start living slow. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, just any social media at Bibliolifestyle.
Awesome. And and I guess you're finding this out now too, Victoria. So we take recommendations from readers. And honestly, some of the best books I have read on this podcast are reader recommendations. House of Hilton, which is, I think, one of my favorite books ever, not only for this podcast, but ever, was a reader suggestion. So if you have any book suggestions, of course, Bravo is our priority, but, reality stars in general. So whatever you got, suggest it to us and we'll read it. Yay. And we also have started a Facebook page, The Reality Reading Rainbow. So join that as well. And I said The Reality Reading Rainbow at gmail.com, right? For our Gmail?
No, you didn't say that.
Well, I'm saying, okay, good. So I just said it. That's our email. Facebook, you can go to The Reality Reading Rainbow. We have a Patreon because books do cost money. So if you have some spare bucks, you can throw the Patreon. Great. We have tiers that start at like $3 a month and up. So if you have a couple of spare bucks, throw them our way. But I know that, in the age of COVID and everything else going on, I know things are tough for a lot of people. So if you don't have the money, don't sweat it, because, at the end of the day, your presence is our present. So just keep that in mind as well. And, one more thing, Clubhouse. Clubhouse is now open to the public. Anybody can join it. And I host 2 rooms in Clubhouse. I am one of the moderators of the Bravo Detective Agency, where we do deep dives into your favorite Bravo celebrities. I am also a moderator of the Real Housewives of Potomac recap room. Victoria, are you modding a room right now?
Yes, so we're going to have the Bravo Rewind on Saturday. It's 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 noon Pacific. I think this week, my co-host and I will be recapping the season 1 of Shahs of Sunset. So you can find me on Clubhouse in Club Bravo on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Pacific.
Yes, and this is all a part of Club Bravo, which is actually the largest Bravo club on. Actually, it is not only the largest Bravo club on Clubhouse, it is one of the top 10 largest clubs on Clubhouse. And everyone is welcome. So come and join us.
Yeah, come and join us. And don't forget to share your book recommendations. I'm super excited. I can't wait to hear what you recommend.
And until next time, keep reading. Bye.
Bye.